Mr. Speaker, we cannot begin to seriously address social development matters without tackling the vexing issues of pension for public officers. Mr. Speaker, since this is the first time I'm speaking publicly on this very important issue, as it relates to the industrial climate, I need to put it in the right context. I need to also remind workers that some who are encouraging chaos and marching with them today had an opportunity to solve those problems before, but never lifted a finger. It's important. And those who are calling us in lawyers, who are advising them not to go back to the table unless certain things are done, have their bread buttered. I hope and pray they would help us when we need help. Mr. Speaker, this government record on pay and benefits for working class of this country since returning into office in 2013 has been outstanding. This is the most that the new National Party or any other government has done for workers in the general and public officers in general, in particular, and more than anyone has done since 1984. Let's recall, Mr. Speaker, that under this government, the Labor Relations and Employment Act were passed into law in 1999. Both these laws strengthened trade unions and gave them more rights to unionize and to the unionized and ununionized workers. And we are now making further improvements to those. It must be noted, Mr. Speaker, that it was this government that increased the grant to the Trade Union Council by 38%, Mr. Speaker. No one did it before. We have extended the rights to job security with the appointment of 400 of teachers and public workers like nurses. Some happened even within the structural adjustment program, Mr. Speaker. We have paid the largest pay increases to public workers during some of the most acute economic and financial crisis in this world and the region has faced, without sending home one single worker, Mr. Speaker. We have to get it straight. We have to get it straight, Mr. Speaker. I've heard enough. Between February 2013, I have not spoken before, I'm speaking now. Between February 2013 to now, we have paid public workers, teachers, nurses, police, and other public workers over $110 million in cash. In addition to salaries and other benefits, Mr. Speaker, and not one worker got up money a day late at the end of the month. Let's get it straight. We have done more in social spending than any other government since 1990. The Needy Assistance Program, the House Repair Program, the Seed Program, uniform allowance for students, Mr. Speaker, poor people, children that could not go to school, Mr. Speaker. We have recently restored pensions for public officers, joining the service between April 4th, 1984 and February 22nd, 1985, paying over $7.7 million, Mr. Speaker, to 56 workers. Where are the voices, Mr. Speaker? Where are those voices? Mr. Speaker, in 2013, with initiative of the leadership of the union at that time, We removed income tax for the first time on retrenchment pay and severance pay. Previous government refused to do it, but they're marching today with public workers. So they care for public workers now. In January 2016, we removed personal income tax on pension, including NIS, Mr. Speaker, the first government to do that. Between 2008, Mr. Speaker, now we have created far more jobs than any other political party who held political office, dropping the unemployment rate from 42% that I just explained to approximately 21%, Mr. Speaker. Government remains, Mr. Speaker, resolute in its position that this issue must be resolved in the interests of the workers and the interests of the country. Mr. Speaker, in July, payment that we honored to the pensioners was critical in our view, necessary, morally correct. Mr. Speaker, therefore, it is critical to note that the government team, led by the Cabinet Secretary and the leadership of the trade union movement, continue to dialogue and work together to achieve a resolution that is in the best interest of the country and all its citizens. Affordability and sustainability are the key considerations. In addition, the welfare of our children and their education and the pain of the parents also must be paramount among all of us. The future of this country is at stake. Mr. Speaker, we have come a long way, Mr. Speaker, but we have miles to go. Government stands ready and willing to continue to engage the unions to determine the most fiscally prudent pathway to address the post-1985 workers. We remain committed, Mr. Speaker, to offering the best possible package to the workers within the context of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Mr. Speaker, acceding to the union demands of 25% advance payment of pension, called gratuity, within the current construct, I must repeat, within the current construct, will cripple the country financially. It is simply not feasible, given our current and projected revenue stream, to meet these demands and to further sustain them over the long term. Regional and international organizations have cautioned us that pension program must be managed. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we must be fiscally prudent with our decisions, or we run the risk of undoing the tremendous gains we have made in recent years and lose considerable funding we have acquired through prudent fiscal discipline. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe anyone in this country want to see us take a decision that between January and February, March this next year, that we lose 94 million EC dollars because of the decision that we take today. I don't believe any Grenadian, Cancunian, Petit Martinique want to see this. In addition, Mr. Speaker, just want to point out, a 10-point fact sheet on pension is provided at Annex 3 to help broaden the public understanding of this important issue. Mr. Speaker, this government must be known, must apply the principles of universal social conscience and social justice for all. We cannot give all the resources of the state to who have a voice and who are represented by trade unions. We have to look at the welfare of thousands of working people who are unorganized and have no real voice. We must speak for them, Mr. Speaker. We have to take care of the hundreds of single mothers who are low skilled and unable to enter the job market. We have to look after the thousands of unemployed youth. We have to take care of hundreds of elderly citizens who we have to care for in their homes. We have to take care of the young men who find themselves in trouble. We have to give them a second chance. We have to train them to become law-abiding and productive citizens, Mr. Speaker. And we should not allow them to languish in prison without hope and opportunity. We have to help them, these hundreds of young people, to get a better life. Mr. Speaker, government, therefore, cannot give only to those who are employed with the state and are organized. Trade unions ought to subscribe to the principles, and I repeat, of social justice. Trade unions should not act as though they're the only ones entitled to resources of the state. There are other people in this country. There must be social justice for all, Mr. Speaker. The Christian principle of looking out for your neighbor is the heart of the Christian belief, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on another note, I must say this, Mr. Speaker. If I don't say it, I'll be a hypocrite. The issue of paying workers for days on which industrial action was arbitrarily taken is not fiscally. It is fiscally irresponsible to do it, morally bankrupt, and politically unwise. Let's get that clear. Mr. Speaker, the government cannot agree to such. Workers choose to withhold their labor. The union should have a strike fund in place and should therefore be responsible for paying the lost wages of those workers, Mr. Speaker. You say you're not working for me and I pay you. How could that be fair? Almighty God will not bless us if we do this, Mr. Speaker. In other words, Mr. Speaker, we fully agree with the workers, They must be paid, but not by government, by the union, Mr. Speaker.